Today I thought I'd talk to you about what it's like to study maths at university, because if you didn't know, I study maths at university. I'm about to go into my 3rd year at Southampton, 3rd and final year, thank God. Obviously it's the time of year that people are going back to school, people are starting uni for the first time, and it's also the time of year that people in year 13 or upper 6th are deciding whether or not to go to university and what they want to study. I've tried to film this video 3 separate times already, and every time the sun does this. As soon as I start filming. Great. The lighting's going to change in this video a lot, you're just going to have to put up with it. I guess before I started my course, I didn't really know what to expect. I was kind of avoiding thinking about it, so I didn't go on YouTube and look for these videos. But I think if I did know this information, it would have been useful. It wouldn't have changed my mind. I don't think it would have changed my mind and made me want to study something else or not go to uni, but I think it would have helped just to be a bit more prepared and to know what I was getting myself into. So first of all, maths is hard. Anybody who you tell that you're studying maths to, they just go, whoa, you must be so smart. I never really know what to say to that. And then when someone tells me that they study something else that's not maths, I'm just like, oh, cool. I feel like that's very one-sided. So that's the first thing you got to get used to. I can only talk from my experience and my university and the course that I do, but I think in general, most maths courses are very similar. The structure's very similar, the content's very similar. So let's hope that we can generalise this a little bit. The major thing to say is, yeah, it is hard and there is a lot of work. And I think in general, any university course, there's going to be a lot of work, it's going to be hard, it's definitely going to be a step up from what you were doing in school. Maybe I'm biased, but I think maths especially is a big step up, and it's a lot of work. So much work just to understand what's going on. As much as you think that maths is just numbers, the majority of the notes you write in lectures are very wordy. Essentially, the lecturer has basically a paper that they've written with theorems and proofs and examples and all sorts, and they rewrite them on the board for you in the lecture and you copy them down. That's the lecture done. Definition, theorem, proof, maybe example. Definition, theorem, proof, maybe example. I mean, I don't want to slate them because obviously they're very smart people, but at least the lecturing side of their job is just writing down stuff that they've already written for other people to see. Because all the material you're covering in lectures, all the notes you're writing down, quite often are so abstract or theoretical rather than actual, you know, using numbers, it takes a lot of work to understand what any of it means. And there's not really time in lectures to grasp that because you've got to keep writing and writing and writing what's being written on the board, otherwise you're not going to have notes. That means there needs to be a lot of independent study time just to understand what's going on before you have your independent study time to actually do any work that you've actually got to do. Moving on to the work that there is. For most maths courses, the majority of the assessment is exam-based. For me, it's always been 80%, and the other 20% is made up of work that you do throughout the semester rather than the exam at the end. These can be class tests, so like a mini exam within the lecture theatre that might be worth 5 or 10%. We get quite a lot of exercise sheets, like sort of assessed homework. You get them weekly and each one's worth like 1% of the module, but they all add up. Then there's some coursework and there are some projects. They sound like a big thing, but most of the time either they're not that difficult or the lecturers are really lenient with the marks. I've had one group project and then I've had 2 statistics ones where they give you data and you have to sort of analyse it and do a write-up about it, but it's all pretty basic stuff. In first year they were really big on the assessed weekly homework sheets, so every module, I did 4 modules per semester, there was a weekly homework sheet. So that's 4 sheets to do a week, and each one could take me between like an hour and a half to, you know, up to 8 hours. It depends how hard it was. I just had no time. I was constantly doing these sheets and I felt like everybody else was going out and having a great time and I was sort of left out because I had so much work to do. We fed back to, you know, the people at the top that we had too much and it was literally impossible to do it all. I don't know how I managed it, especially with everything else going on in my life during first year, if you know about all that. Most other subjects didn't have as much contact time with me. I had sort of between 18 and 22 hours a week, which doesn't sound a lot when you compare it to school, but at university that is a lot. Everybody else that I knew had sort of between 4 hours a week and like 12, 13 at a push. The contact hours reduced a bit for me this year, and also the workload eased up a lot. Instead of having these weekly sheets which were worth pittance but you still had to do, we had a lot more class tests and coursework, so there were bigger chunks but more spread out. I say I have 12 hours a week because they're the ones I go to, but if I actually went to everything that was timetabled, I still have about 18. Yeah, I would have 18, sometimes 19 or 20. So I do 4 modules at a time, and each one has 3 hours of lectures per week, and then 1 problem class or tutorial. We also have the occasional computer lab or something like that, where if you've got a big piece of coursework like the stats ones that I mentioned, you can go and learn how to use the computer programs that you need. They're not very often, and they're also not compulsory. The final 2 hours are for maths workshops. That just sounds ridiculous. It makes me think of Santa. The great thing about Southampton Maths is that we have our own student centre. The maths department encourage you to spend your free time there, like in between lectures and stuff. And generally I do, not to conform. It's a good place to work, and it's also a good place to hang out, because everyone from maths hangs out in that same place and studies in that same place. There's a lot of support. Like if you're struggling with a homework question, you can go and ask someone else, because either they're in your year and they might have done it, or they're a few years above you and did it a couple of years ago. And I digress completely from my topic, but that's useful to know. My point was that in the student centre, there are these 2 workshops a week for each year. During those sessions, all the lecturers for the modules that year are taking are in that room. They're there to help you. You can ask them questions. They can help you with any coursework or homework that you have to do. Just because of the nature of a maths degree, it's quite useful to have one place where all those people can go and mingle. And like I said, I find it really helpful, and I don't go to the workshops that often, but it is really helpful to have that place that you can go. And because of that, collectively, we don't really use the library. Like solo studying, maybe. We've got our own place to study, and we don't need to get out books. That's another great positive about maths. There's no required reading, there's no having to buy hundreds of pounds worth of textbooks, and there's no essays. That is like my number 1 positive about studying maths. No essays. One thing that I feel like I'm missing out on, which a lot of people get out of uni, is everyone doing degrees in social sciences and humanities, politics, they're constantly referring back to real life and the real world and things that are happening right now. And yeah, like I read the news headlines and I know what's going on in the media, but that's about it. I have no intellectual views on anything. I have no sort of critical thinking skills. All that I've got is that I can do fancy adding and think logically. I suppose what I'm saying is that as mathematicians, we're stuck in our own maths bubble, protected from the real world. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out. We're off studying fields and graph theory and vectors, and none of those are actual things. They came out of our brains and we decided that they mattered, but do they matter? Excuse me while I just have a quick existential crisis about academia. And everyone else in the world is learning about real things. And yeah, numbers real. Numbers are a construct. We made them up. I'll come back to the bubble stuff in a sec, but I just want to quickly explain about optional modules and stuff like that so you've got a bit of context. Okay, I can only assume this is at least very similar at other universities, but at Southampton, first year mathematics, I hate the word mathematics, it makes me feel really weird, and saying it to people who don't even maths, it just makes me feel stupid. The same with mathematician. To everyone else that just sounds really poncy, but that's a word we actually use, seriously. Some people had taken further maths, some people hadn't, so everybody was coming in at different levels. Like also international students, like they don't even do A-levels, they do other stuff. The aim of first year is to get everybody to the same level with the basic knowledge they need for the rest of their degree. Everybody did exactly the same, we didn't get any options at all. In second year we got a bit more freedom, we got to choose between applied maths, statistics and pure maths. I chose pure and statistics, even though I don't like statistics. And then we also got one optional thing between stochastic processes, which I have no clue what it is, sorry, and algorithms, which is operational research, kind of like decision maths. And then third year, the one I'm about to go into, basically got to pick everything. I think there was 1 or 2 compulsory things and everything else is up to you. Anyway, back to the bubble thing, because in first year we all did the same modules, we were all in the same lectures together. We didn't really see anybody from any other subject. I know everyone studying social sciences had to take the same statistics for social sciences module. Everyone from all those different disciplines were in the same lectures, and you got to meet other people doing different courses and a lot more variety there. In social sciences, again, a lot of the modules are kind of interchangeable between the different degrees. So again, meeting new people, seeing different people's perspectives on things, broadening your horizons. But with maths, no, we don't really do that. Also, not many people come in to maths to take that as an optional module. Even subjects like physics and chemistry, we have a couple of people come in, but it's not compulsory. There's an easier option that they can take, but just a couple of people choose to put themselves through the horror that is like second year mathematical analysis. Our maths society is called Southampton University Mathematics Society. sums. We've had 2 maths house crawls where, you know, like a pub crawl, but you go to different maths students' houses and there's a lot of free alcohol. So that was great fun. We've also had a couple of movie nights, maths related movies. I think we had The Imitation Game is one. I can't really remember any others. And we also went to see Hidden Figures at the cinema when it came out, which is great because I love that film. We haven't yet managed anything big like a Christmas party or the end of year ball or a boat party. We fall under the faculty of social, human and mathematical sciences. I had a lot of flatmates in first year that fell under social and human sciences, and they were going to all these faculty balls. The maths people never got invited to these. Like, we're in the same faculty and technically, yeah, sure, we were invited, but nobody told us. We're just completely separate from them. It's like we don't exist to them. I feel like I've been talking for hours, and the fact that my face is now completely in shadow proves that, so I'm gonna shut up. Hopefully this video has been helpful to some of you if you're just starting uni, or even if you're applying to UCAS like in the next couple of months. If you absolutely do not have a clue about maths and it's not your thing at all, but you're just here because you watch my videos, then first of all, thank you. This is not the most interesting topic, I am aware. Hopefully you kind of understand a bit more about what it's actually like studying maths at uni, like it's not just adding things up. I've been talking about maths for so long, I think it's actually made me go a bit loopy. So I'm gonna go now. Thank you very much for— oh! See what I mean? This is why I never film videos standing up. Let's try that again. All my links are below as usual. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!